Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jim Lundy, founder, CEO, and lead analyst at Aragon Research. There's been a lot of hoopla this week with the rise of DeepSeek and all the turmoil around where they got their information. Did they borrow it or steal it from OpenAI? And is your enterprise at risk when you're using LLMs, when you're not using the right ones, or you're using ones that were trained with unlicensed information and knowledge? So this is a short podcast. These slides, which is kind of your risk management toolkit for generative AI, they will be available for download on aragonresearch.com. So let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, the errors of agents and conversations. So virtual agents or AI agents or digital workers, you're going to hear us use that term, are powered by a combination of algorithms, one of which is large language models and small language models that have other algorithms for content understanding, content generation tied to the main algorithm. There's also a lot of knowledge that they access to give answers. It might be your content, but in general, there's a certain knowledge corpus that they're trained on to be able to seem like they're intelligent. Where they got that content, how that content's protected, what exposure you have, those are all things we're going to talk about. As you can see, knowledge lakes are going to become one of the big topics, we think, in mid-2025. With the race towards digital workers and artificial general intelligence, not just full automation of tasks, but reasoning. And reasoning engines are one of the things that came online this week with the rise of DeepSeek. So this is our third podcast this week. This is today, January 31st, 2025. And let's dive into some of the things you got to watch out for. And these are things you're not hearing on TikTok. You're hearing it first here at Aragon because there's just too much hype. And we need to talk about the realities of information protection and enterprise risk management. So first, intelligent assistance and text generation. So when you generate text using a large language model or a service that uses one, and generally you're going to use a service that has an LLM behind it, you do need to understand the license agreement for that service and the LLM behind it. You need to understand indemnification. And if you're generating text, you need to edit the text with your own original information so it's not an AI-only generated piece of content or document. Why? Because the U.S. Copyright Office ruled this week, check out our blogs, that if you don't make any edits to it, you cannot copy derivative works made from AI. That's probably going to be challenged, but all you got to do is do some edits to it. You can claim it as yours. You basically say, hey, we created a draft, and then we finished it with our own human beings. And that makes it something you can copyright. Okay, this is even more important, intelligent assistance and image generation. There are many, many image generation tools coming online. Most of them don't have indemnification. So you need to make sure that if you create an image, that the provider you're using to create that image, like in this case, it was Google, that you're indemnified. And I can tell you that we are indemnified because we didn't turn the service on until we knew that they had that indemnification. So Google and Microsoft do. However, we're not sure Microsoft's going to because they just turned on the DeepSeek engine in Azure. Not sure if they're going to be able to do that. There's many others that do not provide indemnification, and we'll show you some. And to copyright a work of art, you're going to need to go in and edit that image, tweak it, so you can make a claim that it's yours and you're copywriting it. Hopefully that makes sense. And sometimes, again, you're going to have to use Adobe or other image editors. You can put it in PowerPoint and tweak it there, quick and dirty. You can do it, you can edit in Apple Photos, or you can use a professional tool like Illustrator or Photoshop. But a slight tweak is all you need to do. Now, overall indemnification. We're not attorneys, but your attorneys do review contracts and they look for mutual indemnification in general. This is an example of a general Google indemnification obligation. By the way, we have multiple product providers here. I just pulled up one. So you have to have an indemnification clause in their service. And then the next step, which we'll go to next, is verify they have it in place for their AI service. They also need to make sure that their training data, their knowledge that they trained the LLM on, that they actually have verified that they're licensed to use that information. Many of these startups have not taken that step. Therefore, if they have not licensed the training data, you should not use those LLMs. I'm going to pick on Facebook and Meta. The Llama LLM has been used allegedly with unproven data, unlicensed data, and books and videos and music from Library Genesis. So if you don't have a verified provider, you can't expect litigation down the road for possible copyright infringement. Vendors that offer AI indemnification. So the action is to verify they have indemnification, and they will indemnify you for overall AI, not just the training data. And so here's an example. Our training data indemnity covers any allegations that Google's use of training data to create any of our generative models utilized by a generative AI service infringes a third party's intellectual property right. So vendors that are going to provide indemnification on this type of thing, the ones we verified are Adobe, Anthropic, Google Cloud, IBM, Microsoft, WebEx by Cisco. There's more, but those are the ones we had time to really kind of dive deep. Some of the other ones that aren't on here is because they made it very hard to find their terms and conditions. However, there's companies that are not providing indemnification on generative AI. Midjourney, Stability, and OpenAI. They are not providing it. We recommend you do not use those until they provide real, clear indemnification, not nebulous indemnification. Finally, limiting access to APIs as part of a developer program because people are using the API gateway that's not throttled to access your data and to steal it. That's pretty much what we think that OpenAI had happened to them through DeepSeek. Massive downloads last year. They did track it. They know the individuals, and they think they're going to be able to track that back to DeepSeek, which means DeepSeek and OpenAI. If OpenAI was contaminated, then DeepSeek is too. But DeepSeek itself is going to be claimed that they stole IP. And so that's also bad. So we didn't list them yet because we're still doing due diligence, but probably a no-no to use DeepSeek, even though Microsoft's hosting it. Probably a no-no to use OpenAI in a corporate setting. The other vendors I mentioned are fine. But on the developer side of this, you need to throttle the amount of data that can be accessed using the API gateway. You must have credentialed partners. You must limit what they provide to the partner, and you need to monitor it, because in the Western world we had high trust in the old days of developer programs. We do not have that anymore. People are using it to steal. So the bottom line is examine all your license agreements, ensure indemnification is offered for training data, ensure that you've got it for text, image, and video generation, and you've got to lock down your API access, particularly if it's allowing access to core data, which generally it does. And that's kind of a no-no. So a lot to kind of unpack here today, but buyer be warned, indemnification, limiting developer programs that have large volumes of data behind it. You start doing those things. Obviously, if you work with Aragon, we're going to coach you through the whole process. So if you haven't signed up to work with us, you should go to aragonresearch.com, maybe ask for a sample inquiry or contact one of the account executives, and we can get started with you. So this has been an Aragon Live podcast today on the 31st of January. These slides will be available as a downloadable asset on our website. Thank you very much.